Hi folks, just going to talk you through this introductory bit of wildfire, so fires in nature. So firstly, this is the nature of the wildfire. So I'm going to try and draw and video at the same time, which is quite awkward. So the first type is called ground fire. So this is where fire is actually under the ground, so it's the soil on fire basically. Next type is surface fire. So this is where whatever is on the surface is on fire, so bushes, grass, any dead vegetation, so fallen leaves from the trees in the autumn, any dead grass, that's what would be on fire. And the last one is the crown fire. So this would be the crown of the tree on fire. So that's the first thing, that's nature. So conditions favouring wildfire down here. So any of the vegetation, particularly on the surface that's dry, that will ignite really, really easily. If the trees are particularly dry, so maybe there's been drought conditions, then that will favour a wildfire. That leads us on to the weather. So if it's been dry weather, everything is dry, the undergrowth, the ground is very, very dry. If there's been prolonged drought, so maybe a drought for not just months, but maybe for years sometimes in some of these places. And then if it's windy, so obviously the wind will blow the fire forwards. And also types of vegetation. So eucalyptus trees are a particular type of vegetation that when they go up in smoke, they really, really do burn. They contain a lot of oil, as in eucalyptus oil, so they burn quite readily. So that's conditions favouring. Next thing is fire behaviour that I've written in this top left-hand corner. So the first thing is the ladder effect. So I'm sure you're thinking, yes, it's ground fire, surface fire, working the way up the trees. Yes, you're absolutely right. It's just kind of climbing the fire, climbing. Another one is radiation. So if this tree here is on fire, the amount of heat that is giving off is huge. Now what that can do is this tree next to it can heat up, not necessarily burn, but it will heat up. So therefore, when the fire gets to this tree, it will burn more readily. Also, you've got things called firebrands. Now, firebrands are bits of embers, if you like. If you've ever been by a bonfire, you have to stand back because the wind will blow, and this is particularly effective in windy areas. The wind will blow bits of the fire away from the main fire, and these are called firebrands. So then what do? Is they ignite the crown next to it, also called igniters as well. The crown fires as well can pass from crown to crown, so that's another way that fire behaves. Causes of fire. Down here, got some causes. So arson, where somebody on purposely sets an area on fire. Careless campfires and barbecues. Maybe power lines, just sometimes a spark will fly off a power line. Also machinery, just sparks off machinery. And then natural, so thunder and lightning. And then the final thing is impacts, but I'm just going to look at global impacts as a kind of a big overview. So that links to synopticity heavily, so linking with other topics we've done. So there's a little bit of a link with ecosystems. We do not really cover ecosystems, but just habitats are obviously completely destroyed. That's the vegetation as well. Massive input of CO2 when obviously you burn a wildfire. And then it also affects the water cycle as well, because if you burn this vegetation, you've basically got no vegetation. So therefore, when it rains, the water cycle obviously reacts very, very differently. So there's big picture ideas. Hope that helps. Sorry for the camera shaking.